everyone, good evening. My name is Neeati Narayan and I welcome you all to a new session as a part of YLCC's Legal Career-A-Thon series, where we have an expert every week to guide you all. Today we have with us Ms Neeati Narayan. Welcome ma'am, and thank you so much for joining. Ma'am is here to guide us on career as a banking and finance lawyer. Ma'am is graduated from Symbiosis International University in 2016, after which she joined ICICI Bank as a legal manager. Later, she went on to work with Career-A-Thon Co in the capacity of an associate and is currently working with Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas Co. If time permits, we shall have audience's questions at the end of the session, so I request all the audience members to pin down their questions in the chat box. Ma'am, would you like to say something to the audience before we delve into the questions?
Much for having me here. It's honestly a pleasure to be a part of this series because this is such a great avenue for everyone to participate in and share their knowledge, their findings and their experiences, and we all learn. It's always a continuous learning process. So thank you for having me. That's something to begin with. I do not represent that I am an expert in the banking and finance field. It's just something that happened as a chance for me, but I have made a career out of it. And I've been in this particular field for around 6.5 years. And every day I learn something new. I hope that I'm able to impart some sort of interesting knowledge or experience to you. Because
Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, so beginning with the session questions. What is the scope of a career in banking and finance in India? And what are the key skill sets an aspiring banking lawyer ought to have, or the reading material to keep in order to begin their career in this field?
Good question. So this field has a good scope in India as of now, and not just in India, but also in other jurisdictions such as UK and Australia, where it's slightly easier for Indian lawyers to sort of get absorbed into. Once you have enough experience, not something that a fresher can do, but once you have gathered enough experience, it opens up a lot of avenues, honestly. I want to restrict this to India right now because that's something that I have a better idea of. So there are multiple firms in India at different. Sorry, there's just some echo happening. Okay, so
we can perfectly hear you, ma'am.
Sorry?
We can perfectly hear you.
Okay, great. So multiple firms in our tier 1 firms, tier 2 firms or boutique firms, they have a banking and finance practice area and with multiple talents dedicated to this field because it's a great up and coming. It's not really up and coming. It's a very, very established work practice area with a lot of finance deals that are coming up and have already taken place. Offshoots of this particular field also involve something called fintech, something called insolvency. Like these are big areas of law in themselves, but these are all sort of branched under the whole finance banking side of it, basically. So there are, as I said, there are multiple firms and they are hiring people with beginner level experience also quite heavily at this point of time. There are so many banks, there are so many NBFCs which are hiring banking lawyers or finance lawyers as of now. There are so many funds that are also doing the same thing. So all in all, there's a great scope in this particular field. It's all about sort of networking yourself. It's about entering into the network and then progressively moving ahead in the curve and just like going ahead in and stepping up the ladder. As simple as that. So it's a field with continuous work right now because debt infusion is always going on in companies. You will not hear about it because they are not as heavily reported as an equity infusion or say a merger or an acquisition, but all companies are taking up loans, all companies are taking up these debt facilities, and it's an ongoing piece of work. So honestly, a lot of work going on right now. The skill set that you asked, it wouldn't be any different than any other lawyer who is starting their career at this point of time. you need to, like, there are some things which are basic, right? And which are universal across different work fields. And I wouldn't say that a banking lawyer has to have something specific as compared to, say, an M&A lawyer or even a litigating lawyer. Basically, I would suggest having the most minute attention to detail, having a willingness to learn. Great research skills always help, like they always come in handy. Good grasp over English, and you need to keep on reading things. You need to keep on sort of updating yourself with the latest circulars, guidelines that keep on coming up, because it's a very, very dynamic field. So you need to have that sort of acumen that and the drive basically to go on Google, get on the alert updates, and, just keep on reading at that point of time. And honestly, at the end of the day, a cheerful and a pro-learning attitude really helps. Like, that helps you, that helps people around you. If you're a likable person, you will really go ahead in life. That's simply the basics of it. So that's basically it. In terms of prep material, I would say that it's always good to have a firm grasp over the Indian Contract Act, the Transfer of Property Act, some aspects of the Companies Act, which pertain to when a company is taking up loans, or basically how the loans and the reserves work. So learning never stops, and there is no point in overcomplicating your learning procedure. As a part of the job that you will enter into, you will keep on learning the more specialized laws. I'm talking about the Banking Regulation Act, the Sarfazi Act, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. All of these you will get acquainted with as and when you keep on progressing in terms of what you're working on and the projects that you're a part of. So that is something that will be learned as a part of the journey. But as I said, these basic things like Contract Act, Transfer of Property Act, Companies Act, these will really help you, because this is where, honestly, the ball starts rolling, honestly. And that's it. That's all. And you just need to remember all the things that you learned as a part of your corporate subjects or the commercial subjects in law school. That's it. That's all.
Right. All right. So what developed your interest in this domain of law? And like you mentioned while introducing yourself, that it was more of by chance. So what would you say about that? And also, could you share how your day-to-day responsibilities look like?
This always makes me think, because everyone asks me what got me started. It's not like I thought of this, honestly. Like, yes, banking was one of my elective subjects in fourth year. Like, so Symbiosis Law School Pune gives you these elective courses as a part of the fourth year curriculum, where you can choose from multiple things. These include M&A, banking, IP, information technology, constitutional law, media laws, bunch of stuff really. I took up banking law and I hated it. It was not a lot of fun to read as a theoretical process. And I was like, I think I'm done with it. But towards the beginning of my fifth year, we were being placed by our college, and ICICI always comes to Symbiosis Law School Pune as a part of its recruitment drive. And they picked me and another of my batchmate up from our batch. And that's basically how I started. And I'm super lucky to be a part of an organization, an institution like Symbiosis that gave me this opportunity, because that honestly paved the way across for me. This is something that, as I said, it was not deliberate on my part. And once I went into ICICI, I was just labeled a finance lawyer. There was nothing doing after that. So I just continued with it because I do like it. I have good acumen for it. It is something that I enjoy doing. So honestly, it just worked out well that way, I think. You asked me how my day-to-day responsibilities look like. Wow, well, I see it's a regular firm job currently. It depends on which organization you're a part of. But for me specifically, it is being whenever I am sort of put on a particular project or a particular deal, basically giving all the assistance I can. As a part of the middle management, I have to be the support that my principal associate or my partner relies on. And I also have to teach my juniors and show them the ropes of how this works. And so that, because I want them to learn at the same time, I want to offload some of my pressure to them. And for that, they need to be trained well. So it's honestly a lot of this, like juggling and balancing between my responsibilities to my seniors and my responsibilities towards my juniors. So honestly, that's that. And it also includes a lot of many multifold client calls, client communication, a lot of research. So yeah, that's basically what my day-to-day responsibilities look like in terms of my professional work.
All right, moving on to the next question.
Sure.
You have mentioned you have been able to gain expertise in debt finance and debt capital market practice. So could you please explain in brief for our audience what exactly is debt finance and debt capital market, and what aspects of debt financing does a lawyer deal with? And what are the key factors a lawyer is expected to look at while involved in such a transaction?
Honestly speaking, banking and finance is when a company is trying to sort of take up money from the debt side of the market and not the equity side of the market. The ways that you can do it is by taking up loans or when a company issues debentures. What we are expected to do is basically sort of lead the company, whoever we are representing. We could be representing the entity that is taking up the loan at this point of time, or the entity that is giving the loan at this point of time. Depends on who has hired us for the job. And it starts from the basic level of trying to negotiate and review the terms that have been decided in the term sheet. A term sheet is a document that is sort of the guiding light of what the transaction will be looking like. The basic terms are agreed between the parties, such as the loan amount, what is the security structure of the loan, when is it payable, and a lot of other commercial terms. How much interest would it be? What are the different fees and interest and liabilities associated with this particular debt facility? Similarly, there are debentures. Debentures are these market instruments which may be issued by a company. So basically, it's sort of, if I have to explain in extremely layman terms, it's a loan structure which has been divided into small parts. Just as shares are smaller parts of equity capital, debentures have been broken down into smaller units, and you subscribe, the person who is giving you the loan is subscribing to these debentures and thereafter giving you money in exchange of that. Debentures are regulated by multiple legislations depending on what the structure of the debentures are. They could be these debentures could either be private debentures or they could be public debentures. They could be listed on the money exchange platforms. They could not be listed on the money exchange platforms. Depending on what the properties or what the specifications of these debentures are, you need to look at a multitude of legislations as well as circulars. These involve the Companies Act, these involve the Contract Act, these involve the SEBI regulations, and if at all it's an offshore or a cross-border transaction, then you have to look at the aspects of FEMA. So this is what a lawyer is supposed to do. So right from the starting of review of a term sheet to then drafting documents or reviewing documents, if you're a review counsel, giving legal opinions, and honestly just giving a lot of miscellaneous advisory throughout the process. There are so many companies that come to us for the first time, and we can't be like, no, this is the limited scope of what I am doing and I can't help you any further. That's not how the market works. So you have to help them out even with the smallest of the queries, which may be pedantic, but you have to have that sort of attitude where you have to help your client out in whatever ways you can. So that's basically it. Now, these key factors of what a lawyer is expected to look at. Honestly, just the regulatory aspect of it. Like, are you complying with all the specific items that are required under the laws? Are there resolutions in place? Are the condition precedents, which are basically items that you need to get in place before signing the document? Are they in place in case this is a secured funding happening? Have the security being created? All of these things basically. So a multitude of things which I can't really lay out right now, but then once you're in the system, you have an idea of what you're supposed to do. And I'm very fortunate to have seniors who always lay down the specifics of what is expected from me, and I learn on the job. It's honestly quite great. So that's basically it.
Right. We have many law students attending this mentorship session. And since you have also previously worked with Career-A-Thon Co and ICICI Bank, could you brief us about your law school journey and how did you plan your internships and your CV to secure these jobs?
Bringing a lot of nostalgic notes for me. When I first entered law school, my priority was to be a good performer academically, of course, because good grades always help. They're not a necessity, but I do seem to think that it's, as a first impression, it always holds well for you. And then I also was very actively a mooter during law school. I have participated in some 5-6 moots, and it was honestly one of the best times I've had. I have written a few papers, and internships were very important. Something that was drilled into me from the moment I stepped into law school was the fact that internships are important. You need to have a good number of internships, quality internships in your CV, not just for showing it, not just for boasting about it in your resume, but also like learning from it as best as you can. I always try to do that. I have done some 10+ internships, and none of them were banking or finance based. So I would just like to break the myth here that if you want to be a banking and finance lawyer, you don't need to have previous banking finance experience in terms of internships in your CV. It's absolutely okay. My internships were some wide variety of places. This includes Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas in the capital markets team, that too. Talwar Thakur Associates, the Solicitor General of India at that point of time, Advocate Mohan Parasidan, a High Court lawyer, 2 NGOs, smaller firms like Advani & Co, and other boutique firms like R.K. Dewan, etc. So basically what I'm trying to say is that there were a wide variety of internships that I did, and they were all helpful in their own ways. And we are always told that internships, you need to get good internships in order to do well. That's not entirely true. At this point of time, I would just say, yes, good internships always help, but having a good will to basically persevere and make good in the entire structure that you have thought of yourself, that is very important. Networking is very important. Get into an internship, try to do the best you can, even if it's not the most premier institute. Get your contacts ready, get your contacts in hand, try to build goodwill with people, so that, and you know, try to be a little chipper in the moment, and basically things like this. Just be a good, reliable person that your mentor during the internship remembers as, oh, that was a good person who interned. Maybe I would ask them to come back. Or, you know, if you ask them to refer you somewhere else, that always helps. That's something that did help me. So that is something that I would like to definitely emphasize on. And apart from that, I think just for honing my research skills, mooting and paper writing really helped. And just to inculcate a lot of confidence, honestly. I wouldn't say that rely only on confidence. Build a good skill set when it comes to research. And as I said, the willingness to learn has to be the current of the entire package that you are sort of building up. That always helps.
Right. Along the same lines, ma'am, according to you, how much importance should a student give to academics, internships, competitions, publications, and other activities? And post-pandemic, students are struggling to balance their curriculum with co-curricular and extracurriculars. So how, according to you, can one maintain a balance between the same?
Honestly, all of the things that you mentioned are important, but there is no tailored I mean, there's no specific cut formula that applies to everyone. Everyone has to tailor their own way across. I mean, if you don't like mooting, you don't need to torture yourself and like necessarily get that, oh my God, I have to get a moot on my CV. No, probably divert your energies into something which you like more. If you like writing more, if you like conferences more, if you like months more, go for it. Go for something that is giving you an extra dimension, that you're not just a person who is enrolled in law school, who is just attending lectures, who is just going back home after that. Just give yourself more dimension. You have to understand that the law school period of your life will probably never come back, will most likely not come back. So you have to make the best of it, and not just like you have to be this extremely efficient machine that you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to excel everywhere. You also need to enjoy the entire journey. That's something that I would like to really emphasize on in this session, because I, in my time, sort of lost this enjoyment part of it, because I made my journey a bit more mechanical in nature, which, yes, worked out for me. But I also think that even if I sort of was not as mechanical about it or as stringent about it, I would still be doing well for myself. So honestly, always a good place to start. Try to strike up a balance in things which are beyond your law school academics. Take up hobbies, continue your hobbies. Try to write more. Writing is always helpful. More than moods, I would say that, developing a good research acumen and analytical acumen is more important. I have sat across multiple people who struggle while a new argument is sort of thrown at them, or a new problem matrix is thrown at them. And these people are some of the most bright minds, at least on paper, but they sometimes are not able to like critically analyze something very quickly. So I realized the importance of doing that. I realized the importance of building good critical reasoning skills and logical reasoning skills when I was sort of interviewing with a couple of English law firms for my internships. And I realized that their way of asking questions is not at all book-based. You really have to put your mind into a particular problem matrix. They ask you very practical questions and you have to give them practical answers, and sticking to the book or sticking by the book doesn't really help. But I mean, yeah, so my point simply being that you have to make yourself as multidimensional as you can. And always, as I said, like I really want to highlight this, that you have to be someone who has to be curious or willing to learn, basically willing to adapt more often than not. Post-pandemic, people are struggling to find a balance with their co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Honestly, that's a question I might not be well equipped to answer, because I am not a student who is struggling in that phase. I understand that pandemic has brought up this phase of lull, I think, where everything was sort of online, and it was very difficult to sort of discern between where academics stop, where co-curriculars begin, where extracurricular begins, and where your personal time begins. And so honestly, the way to balance it is like pick up a theme per semester. Start with generic subjects, start with generic themes of research or writing or whatever honestly floats your boat. And just delve into it. Give it some time. It will take some time for you to write a good research paper. The initial ones will be bad. The initial ones will most likely be rejected. The initial moods will be difficult. You will not probably win all of them, but it's okay. It's always a stepping stone into something that you are trying to devise for yourself. I also was working, so while I was a part of, while I was in law school, I was also working part-time with this entity called Doctopus. I think a lot of us would be aware of it because it's sort of a one-stop solution for law students or even law professionals when it comes to opportunities in mooting or paper writing or internships even. So I was working with Tanuj, and Tanuj is the founder of Doctopus, and that helped me a lot in order to gain more confidence in life, gain more practical communication skills, because that is something that a lot of us are lacking. So the editing, of course, helped me with sort of honing my actual writing skills as well. So yeah, I mean, that was also fun. So basically go to Loctopus, try to find out these particular paper writing opportunities, enroll in fun courses. I mean, of course, do the ones that will help you, but also enroll in fun activities or fun courses, because your life is not only your career. It's going to be a lot of different things, and you should enjoy every part of it.
So for the students who are wishing to intern in the banking and finance teams, what would you suggest should be the checklist before applying for the same?
Well, if you want to get into such a specialized subject, make sure that you are at least in your third year end or fourth year, because there's absolutely no point that I see in a first year or a second year or even a third year student interning in these specialized teams. They wouldn't have the skill set, most likely. They wouldn't be aware of the basic laws that I just said, like, TOPA or, the Transfer of Property Act, etc., all of these things. So honestly, when you are sort of trying to amble towards a particular specialization, which is as rigorous as banking and finance field, I think being in the fourth or fifth year really helps. The checklist would include, you should probably mention definitely that you want to be a part of the banking finance team. I know that we all sort of copy paste the whole objective section in our resume, but you should always pay attention to it, tailor it according to where you are applying to. That always matters a lot. If you have gotten the internship, then you should give it your 100%. You should go around, ask for work. There'll be times when there is less work. It's not because we don't like you. It's because we sometimes genuinely forget that there's an intern in the team, and we sometimes just want to do work quickly. And an intern might just slow down the process, not because they are not good. It's just because we would be able to do it much faster. Simple things like that. So not taking that personally would really help. Going around asking for help really also adds to the list. Finding a genuine mentor for yourself is something you should look forward to. Striking a personal relationship or a good working relationship with that particular person always helps. When I was interning, I tried to figure out one or two people who liked my work or who I could, I was sure that they would vouch for my work performance. So, and I try to do the same thing with the interns that come in my team. The ones that are genuinely good, I try to actually give them the best review that I possibly can give them. I push for their recurring internship or a second internship. And honestly, this is the human side of internships, or the human side of trying to convert an internship into a job, is something that you need to dedicate some time and effort to. As simple as that. In terms of preparations, as I said, you need to get your basics in order. Knowing what loans are, knowing simple terms like what a simple resolution or an ordinary resolution or an extraordinary special resolution, all of these things help. These things would ensure that I don't have to go back to the book and tell you each and everything from the start. But don't be afraid of asking questions. Don't give me a bad work product just because you thought that you couldn't ask me something. I try my best to be as warm and make my interns comfortable. Some people might not do that, but it's always good to ask questions. It's always good to get your scope of work clarified before you work on it, because otherwise there's no point in wasting your seniors' time or your own time.
You made a switch from an in-house bank to a law firm. So what were the factors which contributed to this decision of yours, and how are the roles and responsibilities different? And what should be the key factor one should keep in mind while choosing bank over a firm and vice versa?
What made me switch from a bank to a firm? This is a very personal question, and my response will also be very, very personal in nature. It was just not the best of the fits. I felt that I could do better in a workplace which gives me a wider variety of things to do, because while I was in ICICI, I was in a particular specific team that was only doing one particular thing. My role was that of recovery, in terms of devising strategies, the legal strategies to recover bad loans. So as such, I never had the exposure of actually working on the legal aspects of when the loans are given out to the companies. That sort of preparation was something I was never really involved in. And I felt that there was some gap in my understanding of how things work. So I wanted to build a better knowledge base for myself. And I thought that a firm would be a better place to do that. Fortunately, I interviewed with a few firms, got a few offers, selected Career-A-Thon because Career-A-Thon has an excellent banking team. At that point of time, I was in Mumbai. I spent 2.5 years in ICICI, then around 1.5 years in Career-A-Thon, and now I'm in Shardul Amarchand because Shardul has one of the most extensive banking finance practices in India, and I'm very honored to be a part of the team. It has worked well for me. Their standards are something that I always try to keep on scaling, because everyone wants great work at the quickest time frame possible. So it has helped me be the most efficient version of myself. Now coming to the second part of what you asked me, these were the factors. So I have already covered what the factors were for why I decided to effect that particular change. My roles and responsibilities, how are they different? So good question. In ICICI specifically, or most in-house firms, the business part of it is mostly always clear. The business comes to you with a specific legal question. Like, this is the scope of the work. You have to answer this limited question for me. In a law firm, you're sort of everywhere. You can't say that this is not what the legal team does. This is something that the risk team will do, because you are the risk, legal, regulatory team, and you're also expected to have fine business acumen as well. You can't just be a good lawyer by just knowing the law. More and more people are trying to get into the more commercial side of things, and not just the legal side of things. So a good lawyer is one who is able to marry the business components and the legal components into a better mixture, a better presentable mixture. And that's how you get the credentials of being a good lawyer, or like specifically a good banking and finance lawyer. So that is how it was different. Work hours are quite different. ICICI had more relaxed work hours, more distinguished, clearly discernible work hours. It started at 9, ended at 6, 7 mostly. Law firms are a little more hectic, and this is not a secret at this point of time. It can get a bit hectic because you're chasing deadlines and you are directly in interface with the customers and the clients, and you can't be like, no, my shift ended at 7, I can't do this anymore. So there's a bit more of chasing timelines, but that in fact helps you learn how to manage your time better and be the best version of yourself. At least that held true for me. What should be the key factor one should keep in mind while choosing a bank over a firm? A bank over a firm, it's very personal. I don't know what would make you choose a bank over a firm, but perhaps a better work-life balance, that if that is something that you're looking forward to, you should definitely opt for an in-house role where you know that there'll be things which are more compartmentalized and not like all over the place. And why would you choose a firm is why I chose a firm, because I wanted to do a bit of everything, and sort of like develop the right kind of credentials to establish myself as a banking and finance lawyer that is known in the market or established in the market. That's basically it.
Right. So along the same lines, according to you, is it advisable to start a career with in-house roles? And does it make any difference in the long run if you wish to switch to law firms at a later stage?
It honestly, in the long run, it has not affected me at all. It's always about how you structure your work. It's about what you want to do. There is no clear-cut formula as to what is advisable, what is not advisable. If you have, honestly, when we are graduating, a lot of us are honestly just happy to get a job, right? And at least in my time, it was more about like, oh, whatever firm gives me a job, I'm probably going to take it. Now I'm seeing a trend shift of people being more sure of what they want to do and what they don't want to do. And that's a very good trait to have. That's very important. But at the same time, be open to experimentation, be open to understanding that, yes, this was a step that probably didn't work out for me. And maybe I will do something to change my course of work. And that's absolutely okay. So understand that, give yourself the time and the opportunity to sort of course correct yourself at every given point of time. There is nothing that you have to do or you don't have to do. It also doesn't matter in the longer run. Honestly, like, so there's some people who would say that starting in an in-house and then moving to law firms might eat into your experience years, because so there will be some firms who would discount your experience, but that's okay. Everyone has different paces of reaching different milestones in life, and this is not something you need to burden yourself at this point of time. This lecture is for people who are just starting in the field. I don't want to discourage them, and there's nothing to be discouraged about anyway. It's just something that you should be excited to do, and if it intrigues you, if it makes you happy, then just continue with it, and it will pay off. As simple as that.
Right. So how has the banking and finance sector recovered after the COVID-19 pandemic? And has it affected the opportunities for students? And what are your predictions about the same?
Banking and finance was not really hit as a part of the COVID-19 pandemic. During the COVID-19 times, actually banking and finance prospered quite well, because people were all looking into debt capital more than equity capital at that point of time. So there are a lot of loans taken up, a lot of debentures issued, a lot of deal transactions that took place, and it's still going steadily. So there's no recovery as such. No, there are a lot of opportunities for people who want to continue in the banking and finance field. As always, I would say that entering into the particular field might be a little difficult, might have its own set of challenges in terms of how fluid or non-fluid the process is. But once you are in the network, it's very easy for you to develop a goodwill and forge your way ahead in the game. So once you're in the network, it's always like there are so many job opportunities for people who have as less as like maybe 1-2 years of experience. But yeah, yes, I admit it might be a little time consuming for a fresher to sort of reach into it, but do not lose hope, and don't worry about it. It's all going to work out in the end if you give it your best shot, and if you plan it in a better way and you network in a better way. As simple as that. No predictions, because I don't believe in predictions. That's it.
any last advice you would want to give in like 1 minute to the audience members?
First of all, if you have questions, please redirect them to YLCC. I will take them up and I will get back to you with a written response. Happy to do that. Last minute advice would be just try to enjoy the process. Don't make everything so mechanical, so methodical, because your law school journey would be a very, very happy journey, a very interesting journey for you. Don't make it all about, no, I have to do this. This is the right way. This is the wrong way. This is something that you need to inculcate and keep in mind. Read, keep on reading, keep on fostering good relationships with people around you. Be your seniors in law school, be your seniors in your workplace. Try to earn the best goodwill that you can in the market, because that helps a lot. Be very kind to people, be very, very polite to your clients. All of these softer skills actually play a more vital role. Of course, your technical skills and your knowledge base needs to be very strong. But at one point of time, after, at least in a law firm scenario, you have to not just being a good lawyer is given. You have to bring in the business. And to bring in the business, you need to be popular with your clients. To be popular with your clients, you have to give good work product. So just think of it in a logical way. And yeah, that's it. And don't overcomplicate things in your head. Enjoy the process. And yeah, that's it. Please reach out to me if you have any specific queries.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am, especially for scheduling time on a Saturday evening. And I am sure that everyone had made a good calculation of the opportunity cost before joining the session today. So thank you everyone for joining. And thank you, ma'am, for joining once again.